Raw and Nerdy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Raw and Nerdy. This is episode number 64, and if we would have timed this correctly, we would have done like Nintendo 64 on this episode, but nah, we didn't figure this whole system out until later on. I am Joe the Widget, and I am joined by my fellow nerds extraordinaires, Rook.
Yeah, because we decided to start doing this a little late. We didn't plan anything, but the next console is not the N64, so.
No, we've got a few to go, actually, before we hit that.
Mm-hmm.
And we are joined, as always, by the man who rounds out the group, Archon.
Is that a fat joke? Did you just make a fat joke?
No.
Okay, good. What's up, everybody?
We are back for another episode, and we are going to be doing Sega Genesis tonight, continuing our Gaming Through the Ages little brain fart series. That's what I want to say. Series.
Yeah, that's a good word. Series works.
Yeah, and I believe we are doing PlayStation next.
I believe so, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we established that PlayStation came out before 64.
Yeah,
which boggles my mind. That doesn't sound right to me.
I remember owning a PlayStation, and then my best friend at the time getting an N64 when it released. It was a while later.
I remember owning a PlayStation and a 64, and I swear I got my 64 first.
When I was in high school is when both machines launched. Dates me, but I was in a massive debate with me and my friends at school for months about whether I should get an N64 or a PlayStation, because I had my first job, I saved up money, I was going to buy my system, because I'm the oldest of 8, so my parents didn't have any money, so it was up to me, and I went through the ringer, and finally I saw an ad for an RPG called Final Fantasy VII that convinced me.
But yeah, I mean...
So yeah, on to this week's show. We got a couple things in the news, but we'll see if we have time to get to it for now.
I'm sure we will.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are light on your Sega knowledge over there, so...
Oh, yeah. I don't have a top 10. I have a top 3.
3?
Yep. That's the only 3 games I played. At least
I have a top
enough 10. to rank them. Huh?
I have a top 10.
I was going to say, you say that until I start listing off games, and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah.
No, I very seriously played very, very few games. I borrowed the system one time from a friend, played it for 2 weeks, and that was it. Never played the system since.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, and 3 of the games that I have were 3 out of the 5 that he had that I was able to play, and I really liked them. So that's what I got. How was your guys' week? What have you been up to?
I think all of our weeks have been about the same.
Yeah. Icarus Part 2.
Kind of, for the most part, yeah. We all played a lot of Icarus, it seems.
Well, it helps. It helps once we got the dedicated server up.
Yeah, I spent
that did help.
most of my Sunday getting that server up.
Got it up.
Yep, and then a week later, I had it on my computer for a few days, but then I decided to move it off of my computer. It was only like $5 to do it, onto an offsite server based out of Florida, and they decided to go ahead and shut it down for 30 hours for hardware upgrades.
I'm not against that, as long as the game runs fine afterwards.
It seems to be running laggier. I think, at least. I think I've had a lot more instances of lag since it came back up, like debilitating lag.
I haven't yet. The server side of it shows a lower latency by about 100 than what it was at.
I see my normal lag.
I had a situation where I got I shot a bear in the face with an explosive round, and then it disappeared for Rook. And even though I was standing there in front of him skinning it, it just disappeared. And then I got completely booted off the server and said that the server host kicked me off. I was like, what the heck?
Yet nothing happened to me in the game. So
yeah.
You definitely have issues with the connection at times to the thing.
It seems to be Steam related though, because
I think
I had to shut down Steam and restart Steam, and then it worked fine after that. So I don't know.
The first problem I had though, moving it off site, because normally you have to run Steam. A different version of Steam is for developers, and you have to run a code. You get Steam CMD, and you get the update, and it pushes it through. But I can't run that program on an offsite server. So I had to contact them, what the heck, I can't get this server updated. And they're like, you should see the Steam CMD update button. And it didn't exist. So they had to put it in my controls before I could actually update the game.
Yeah, but at least they responded.
It took them 12 hours, but they did.
Well, hopefully we don't have any more issues.
No, now I can update within minutes.
I don't know. I had a horse just decide to flip upside down, inverted in the sky, look like it's running across dirt. And when I hopped off of him so I could fix it, he disappeared.
Could have been a game glitch as well.
That was definitely a game glitch.
I also had a cow disappear. Same situation. He got out of his pin, and then all of a sudden he just like. Boop,
what it is, we're being invaded by
vanished.
aliens. You just can't see the tractor beam.
Possible. I mean, we do have boar horses, so
True.
possible.
And we are in space, so I mean, kind of, sort of. Not really. I mean, the whole premise of the game is you're from space going to this terraform planet, but you spend all your time on terraform planet, mostly.
Mm-hmm. The only time you go back to this thing is if you're jumping between solo instances. Otherwise, you really don't have a reason to go back to the space station.
Not really. Or maybe to go to the only time you need to, if you got something from the shop, is if you had to go replace your suit.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
Which is really silly that they put in that whole mechanic for that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes sense lore-wise.
Yeah, but I mean, you should be able to, change your suit in your pod, or you should be able to craft a little like airtight thing that you can go into to change or something. I mean, you can craft everything else in that game, so why not?
I know, you craft some weird stuff. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure this part out. You can get a cryogenically frozen standard thoroughbred horse delivered to the planet, and it can breathe the air, no problem. Yet a human breathes it, and they die.
They genetically modified it to breathe from that.
No. It says it's a thoroughbred, non-modified horse. It is a standard horse.
Okay, I was just trying to come up with some explanation. Apparently not. There's a few holes in the game, that's for sure.
But it's still a really fun game.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Obviously, we've all three been playing it like crazy this week.
The one thing I wish they would do, and the obvious reasons they won't do it because of the backstory of the game, is have some sort of remnants of stuff outside of missions that you can go and investigate and explore.
Yeah, there is definitely some things that could be added to make it more entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It would also be nice if, more than just the host can choose their drop point. Like, each person, when they join, if they could choose their own drop point. And also, if you can go up to change your spacesuit, you should be able to, drop down in different places, too, if you want.
I get why they do that, lore-wise, but still, it really... A few more options. The game's been out a while. They just did a really big update. I don't know what they updated because I didn't notice any noticeable differences to the game. I did notice I get the lag more since the update than before the update. All my bugs started happening after the update.
They apparently added coconuts.
They're not game breaking.
They added coconuts. Yep. You can get coconuts now. There's something to do with, they said something to do with the way the guns work. They changed the way guns work to make them better now too, or something. Well, it didn't seem like a lot of changes to me, but
apparently there's mods for the game, but I'm not touching those.
Yeah, I don't want to touch mods right now.
Yeah, I don't want to either.
There's a lot of great things about the game though. Like graphically wise, I've been really enjoying it. They did an amazing job on the environment. My base that I built in the river area is next to a giant waterfall with mountain ranges all around me and a river behind me. I'm on like a little island between rivers. It's gorgeous. And Rook was out earlier running through the ice trying to get to me, and it was night, so we couldn't sleep. So I was out on the back porch during a rainstorm watching my water wheels and the moon. It was just beautiful, idyllic.
Yeah, there was once when I called Rook, Rook and I decided to build together, and we had this big compound. And there was once I called him outside. I was like, dude, you got to come look at this, because it was like this giant planet right over top of our house in between the two mountains. And it was all dark and there were stars and you could see the little moons and stuff. It was even cooler than some of the things I've seen on Starfield. I'm not going to lie. It was that scene right there was just wow. I wish I could take a picture of this and put it on my wall.
One of the things I'm really picky about in games, especially survival, is the water effects.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like it in this game. I mean, there's some areas where you can see the water clippings not right on point. It clearly looks like a separate entity, but most of the time it's seamless and it's great. The animals are a little weird.
But, a cross between a horse and a boar.
Yeah, but honestly, I went to the rivers for the challenge of it to get those high-level mobs, and now I'm so high-level and advanced that they're no longer a challenge. But
time to go to the desert or go to the ice.
That's what I was thinking about going to get unlock a heater or an AC unit, and then either going to the canyon or up in the mountain.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually tried, when the server was down for 30 hours or whatever, I tried a couple of the other worlds that you can there's two other worlds you can build on. One's called Styx and one's called Prometheus. And like there's actually different animals on each of them too. Like I noticed when we were playing on Styx, there was like Komodo dragons running around everywhere. I was like, oh hey, that's kind of neat. And then all of a sudden I got attacked by crocodiles, and I'm like, this is not neat. These things are mean. They would take like 5 shots directly to the face and still not die.
I had a good time going on Styx with you. That was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it was a cool little server. Or it was a cool little planet, the River Styx.
Mm-hmm. The
I like
crafting is
how
extremely intuitive and in depth, which is something I really enjoy.
one of the things that I really like from back in school that I was kind of a nerd about is like I really liked Greek mythology and anything Greek mythology and stuff. So the fact that like everything in this game is named after Greek mythology type things, I really like that. Like the main planet is Olympus, and then there's Prometheus, and there's
The River Styx.
The River Styx, because that planet is just a big giant river.
Mm-hmm.
But I did do when it first went down. I was talking to Rook on Discord, and I did Prometheus, and wow, that one's different. I'll tell you. There's these little demon dogs that come and attack you, and they're mean. And the whole planet is like purple and hazy, and
Isn't it volcanic?
there is a lot of volcanic areas. That's where you find like the red exotic material is in the volcanic areas, and it's like instead of just harvesting it like you normally do, it's these big red weird looking trees, and you have to put like this weird harvester thing around it that like will sit there and harvest a material that you then have to like process down into the exotic. It's a lot more in depth, but it's kind of cool because it's way different. Like one biome is like it's like a wetlands that's like these big giant trees, and there's like weird almost Loch Ness monstery looking creatures in it, and it's just it's well done. I enjoy it.
Loch Ness monster creatures.
That's what they look like. Yeah. Anybody do anything besides Icarus this week?
Yeah, I played some Pathfinder. It was fun because we were running through, and the very last fight, I dropped down to 2 hit points, and right before the final hit on the evil guy we were fighting, I got healed 8 hit points to 8 hit points.
Oops.
I went from 52 down to 2 and up to 8.
Yeah. Good thing you got him dead.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a harder fight, but apparently we did more damage than what we were paying attention to. That was pretty much my week, though.
Well, I've spent the better part of my week. As you guys know, I have a 3-year-old at home, and we've been working on potty training him.
That's
and
always fun.
It's always fun. But he's been for 3 days now. Totally good. Not one accident, except for like when he's asleep. Obviously, he doesn't know how to wake up when he's asleep yet, but he's doing good. I think he's finally getting it. We've been working with him for my wife's been trying to while she was working and stuff for like the last 6 months, but since I've been home, I've been like on him like every 15 minutes, like go try, and now he just like gets up without anybody saying anything and just goes over and goes, and I think we're finally getting there. Hooray.
Progress.
How goes the job hunt?
Slow.
It usually does.
Haven't gotten a lot of hits yet, but I've been pretty picky so far. I haven't really broadened my search too much yet. I've been kind of picky on what I've been applying for. I might have to go a little bit broader, but we'll see.
Yeah, when my last job laid me off, it took me 9 months to land the job I wanted.
Plus, a lot of companies are just coming back from their breaks and getting back into the swing of things, so they probably won't start going through resumes and stuff here until for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, my company just posted my replacement online. They were supposed to do it on the 20th, but HR didn't feel like doing it, and they posted it like the February 2nd. But they gave me
February 2nd, huh? You came from the future?
January 2nd, you know.
I didn't know you figured out time travel, sir.
Got my hard date for my new position, so I'm supposed to be starting March 1st and moving by then. So hopefully that happens, but we got to hire my replacement, which is never easy when you're looking for like a specialized role. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we get that person hired soon and I get him trained and get rolling. I was online and I saw my news outlets on my phone going crazy about an Avatar 3 trailer. I went and watched it, and it confused me because there were scenes from the first movie embedded in there, just different filters.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked convincing. It did. And I found out the next day that it actually was a fake, and that millions of people got fooled by it, and it was an AI fake.
Yeah, AI is becoming an issue with all these fake stuff. A lot of times, if you actually pay attention to like these ads that are using AI to fake famous people talking, you can tell they're fake. But when it's clips of things together, it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, like I said, it was the scenes of the first movie that tipped me off on it. I got really excited at first, and then the music didn't sound right, and I guess the only reason people are finding out that that was a fake was because the studio said no, we have not released the trailer at all, and we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to yet. And then I saw a Braveheart 2 trailer, and guess what? It's a fake.
Yep.
Like studios like, yeah, we're not going to release a trailer yet because we're still 15 years from this movie coming out. I don't know what you guys are thinking. Don't you remember how long it took before Avatar 2 came out?
Well, Avatar 3 is coming out December 16th.
So they say.
It's
They
just
said
getting,
Avatar 2 was coming out forever too, and I didn't believe it until I actually saw a trailer. So
it's getting annoying that AI is so prevalent. Some of the stuff we sat on at WonderCon, I'm starting to really think is a concern. More serious concern now than it was at the panels about AI.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's just getting better and better as the days go on. Like the better AR gets, the worse it is for all of us because of situations like this. Like we could get super hyped for something and then just be let down.
One thing I noticed about these fakes though is that they didn't have the proper studio logos or intros before the trailer started.
Mm-hmm.
Which
That's
they
a
don't.
big red flag.
Yeah, they don't do that because they can get sued if they added them in there. So, and KH Studios was the one that created both of these fake trailers.
Who is KH Studios?
Jerks.
Yes, Curtis Ho,
Sounds like it.
based in Texas.
Hmm.
They're experienced in computer animation, time-lapse photography, motion graphics. I guess it's just their way of actually testing what AI can do for them to use it.
But they actually posted it as an actual trailer.
Oh.
And the LA fires suck. My girlfriend is right in the middle of one of them, like the Palisade fire. It's right on the border where she lives. And I couldn't go see her this week because of it. And they had to get evacuated for 3 days. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that was devastating. I drove through there before I moved, and now looking at these pictures where all that standing is the brick for the fireplaces, that's rough.
Yeah.
Sunset, I drove past some of the buildings that got burnt, and I have my thoughts on it, but I'm not going to talk about them here.
Fair enough.
But my heart, my thoughts and prayers go to all those affected by these fires.
Same. It is. It is never. It doesn't matter what type of natural disaster it is. It is never good to see people's
Yeah.
lives and livelihoods being torn apart like that.
My girlfriend's not out of the woods yet. They're still on warning right now for evacuation again. And she's got 80-something-year-old patient because she's a live-in nurse, hospice nurse. And getting her out on a moment's notice is not.
You should tell her to get out of there. The woods is the worst place to be during a fire.
Problem with
Right,
this
that one.
The problem with these fires is there's heavy Santa Ana winds blowing across from the fault towards the ocean. So westerly wind, and they've been strong, and that's why it's taken forever to get these out.
Yeah, we had 70-mile-an-hour winds here in Cow City that night.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at some of these. They had pictures of a McDonald's sign with the embers on some of the trees, and it was blowing so bad they were just flying off.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of things we're not going to get into about that. So,
Let's do it.
all right. The
Sega.
usual spiel. It was released in 1988 in Japan as a Mega Drive. And in 1989, it was launched in the U.S. under the name Genesis. And to be fair, Genesis was actually Sega's third console release. The Master System was before it and something else.
I was going to say, actually, the Master System was. The Master System and the Genesis are basically the exact same thing. They play the same games. The Master System came out first. The Genesis was like the revamped, I guess, version.
Yeah.
What
Genesis
do you wanna call
actually
it?
released 2 years before Super Nintendo, but it took several years for it to gain a foothold in the U.S. due to distribution problems. So most people didn't even realize it was even out for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
And it launched in the U.S. for $189, which is $477 today.
Could you imagine if we didn't have that severe of an inflation and getting a console for $189 instead of $750?
Well, right now,
Right.
for instance, Xbox is working on solving that problem by doing a very basic bare bones system that is nothing but internet fed,
Mm-hmm.
and that can release for as low as 150.
Yeah, because I use my console. I got PS5. I use that console for streaming videos and streaming games. Because of the lawsuit about, hey, you don't really own games, you just own the license to them, I started streaming a lot of the games I play instead of outright purchasing. So you don't need all that hardware to do that stuff.
Yeah, well, it has to have video processing and the input
Yeah,
outputs, that kind of thing. So it's not a lot. So you're basically paying for the GPU. I
yeah.
think your controllers are going to be more expensive than the console itself.
GPU and hard drive. That's it.
For the most part, yeah. And a NIC
And,
card, which is your network interface, but
but you don't need a really big hard drive either because all you're doing is storing data, not a whole game.
right. It's just basically, it's more like temporary memory is going to be the big thing, like RAM,
Mm-hmm.
VRAM. So I think it's actually an interesting idea that they're going that route. I just not sure how many people would actually enjoy that because of the whole physical media and ownership thing.
Well, speaking of consoles, since we're talking about consoles, I had this weird thought.
Okay.
Why don't they just go back to cartridges?
Yeah, you said that last week.
Because they don't have the memory.
No,
Yeah.
with what we have these days for memory, you can easily put that in a cartridge.
Yeah, but it would cost more.
Mm-hmm. It'd be significant. Yeah, I
They-
think
they
your
actually
average
went-
cost would be like $120 or $140 a game.
They went to the disc format because writing a disc is super cheap. I mean, writing a disc is. I used to be able to buy packages of writable discs for like $10 for 100 discs. It's super cheap. Cartridges cost a lot more because you have to have all the memory in there, the battery, like the battery to run the cartridge,
The logic
all that
board
kind of
inside
stuff.
of it.
The logic board. It's a lot more expensive. So they went to the disc format to save money, basically.
I think it'd be pretty cool. That is like some collector thing like that where you could own cartridges on a system. That'd be pretty neat, but it would be expensive.
But now explain this to me. Why can I go to the store and buy, we'll say, Final Fantasy Rebirth, a copy of the game, for $69.99? But then if I go online and just buy the digital license for the game, it's still $69.99 and I get nothing physical for it.
Here's the exact reason, and this is my thought process on this one. Because all you're doing is buying the license on hard media.
True. But you're also paying for the hard media, which isn't very much money anyway.
Yeah. Like you
However-
said, it's cheap to print and ship a disc.
Exactly.
So-
and that's my point, is that if you were to go to cartridges, it would be, it could be $69.99 if you buy the digital version, but it's going to be, like he said, like $140 if you want the cartridge because of all the extra hardware and stuff involved in the cartridge. So
Fair enough. I just think cartridges, because you wouldn't have the long load times anymore again, or download times and all that, and you'd actually own the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hate the fact they're pushing the, hey, you don't own the game, you just license it. Because if I'm going to be paying that much money, give me the game.
There's a big topic of debate on that for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask everybody who used to have a Crunchyroll account.
It wasn't not Crunchyroll. It's Funimation account that got everything you had on there got erased. Your Crunchyroll account kept everything you already had previously unlocked.
Yeah. You're right.
I know, because I had Funimation and had to switch over to Crunchyroll.
So Sega had a company-wide contest, and they've specifically said to create a mascot character to compete with Nintendo's Mario. The person who won the contest, I didn't write down the name, but his character was basically a blue hedgehog with red shoes. And the analyst said that that character will not take a hold in the US at all. Americans won't like it. So what they did is they decided to pack in the first Sonic game with the Sega Genesis, which was a huge success and resulted in over 65% of the sales because of that hedgehog Sonic.
Yeah. And now they got the movies and everything. Sonic's huge, man. Everybody loves Sonic.
And
He's almost as recognizable as Mario. Almost.
You want to know something that's sad? I've never played a Sonic game.
Wow.
What's cool is every time I think Sonic, the sound of him spinning up before you take off rolling, that is in my head every time.
And I know that sound, but I've actually never played it myself.
I used to watch the cartoon, the Sonic cartoon back in the day. Like,
so how do you know you have a good character? When everybody can remember the sound it makes at certain times.
The look.
the look, if you don't touch the controller for a while, how he just looks at you and starts getting impatient.
I didn't know about that. But do you guys remember the whole Sonic movie debacle that happened before they launched the first movie?
Oh my god,
where
that first one was horrible
he
before
just
they
looked
revamped him.
awful. Yeah,
With
he
his-
looked so bad.
With
That
his
goes in the
big,
same vein. Like, people know that look of that character. Why are you changing it?
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know
you
what
don't-
went through their process in their brain saying that this is a better idea than going with the actual character.
it was Sony. I think
Damn.
Sony made that one, didn't it?
Just to reiterate what we talked about last week, the Sega was also the
Paramount.
Sega and the Super Nintendo were the first
Yep.
original console war.
It started the whole mess.
This is where it all went down.
Nintendo was constantly winning the console wars until the PlayStation.
Even nowadays, Nintendo's still winning.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are. The Nintendo and the Switch is the highest selling system in the world, more than the PS5 and the Xbox.
Because
Switch
I
is
can
the
take a
number one.
Switch wherever I want to go. I can't take a PS5 wherever I want to go.
Yeah,
I only recently can take a Xbox wherever I want to go, thanks to the backbone and the Xbox
app. Yeah,
app.
yeah, and it's like PlayStation and Xbox are out there playing checkers. Nintendo has always been playing chess.
That's outside of the Wii. What made Nintendo a lot of money has always been their handheld, because they've always been ahead, except for when they came out with the, what was it? Sega's, I forgot what they called it. The Game Genie. Not Game Genie. I forgot what Sega called their handheld.
Game Gear.
Yeah, Game Gear.
The Gamer
Game-
released an article back in 2024 saying the console war already has a winner, the PC. Hell, the master race.
Well, it's not true. It's not true. It's not wrong.
PC gaming has gotten huge the last 10 years.
I went from playing on a console to playing on PC so much. I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws on PC or on console, and it's hard for me to shoot anything accurately because I'm so used to mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, same. I'm definitely a mouse and keyboard kind of guy. Like, if I play Call of Duty, I'm great on PC. If I play it on like console or with a controller,
It takes skill and a lot of practice, obviously.
yeah. Anyway, let's start with Joe since he's only got a 3-game list. Let's.
Yeah.
I want to hear what these 3 games are that you've only ever played 3 Sega games in your whole life.
So, yeah, it's very, very limited. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I have not played the Genesis at all. Very, very limited. But the only 3 games that I played, I put on this list. Well, I played 5 of them, but the other 2 I didn't like. I never played them again. I don't even remember what they were, to be honest. But my number 3 was Echo the Dolphin. I thought that was like the most amazing graphics I'd ever seen back in the day. And I was obsessed with underwater activity, so I thought it was awesome. And my number 2 was Shining Force, which was, now that I think about it, was the very first turn-based RPG I've ever played.
Shining Force is a great game.
I loved it. My number 1 was Golden Axe. I absolutely loved that game in the arcade, and when I got to play it on the console, I was just enthralled.
That was a good game. I actually liked that one, and it did make my list because you could jump on these creatures and ride them around and attack with the creature.
Yeah, they're good games. At least you chose good games. Those
Yeah.
are solid ones. Echo almost made my list. I did enjoy Echo. That was a fun game.
I'll be honest, I never played Echo.
Oh, oh,
I know.
oh.
So sue me.
Consider
I heard
yourself
it's a good
sued.
game. I've heard it's a good puzzle game. I just, in that time frame, I was more into the action games than I was puzzle games.
So one thing I noticed about the Sega as I was making my list is that Sega is one of those systems that fits a rare bill. I don't know what you want to call it. Whereas the sequels to the games that they made were almost always better than the original. Like, the original was a great game, but the sequels were almost always better. And that's not usual that happens. But, like, I don't know. When I get into my list, you'll notice a trend. We'll just say that.
I'm really curious about your guys' list, because I don't know half the games, so I might have some questions.
Good. Questions are good. So, I guess I'll go. As always, I have 2 honorable mentions.
I
Number
thought you
one-
said you weren't doing any honorable mentions this time.
I couldn't do it.
Held out.
I couldn't do it. But my first honorable mention was a game called Booger Man, the pick and flick adventure. It was about this superhero who like would dive down toilets and like he would fart at people and fling boogers as his weapons.
I remember you
And
talking about that one.
he was in a he's like this big buff dude with a green suit with a red cape that walked around. It was just really comical and it was hilarious. And I was a kid and boogers and farts were hilarious. All right, let's be real, they still are. But anyway, my second honorable mention, and it would probably be higher on my list, but I completely forgot this game existed until about 5 minutes ago when it popped in my head and I added it to my list. Was Sonic Spinball. It was a pinball game.
Oh,
It had an actual story to it, but it was a pinball game where you played as Sonic and like you'd rev up and like hit, you'd go flying up and you'd whack them around with the paddles and try and beat the levels and stuff. And I loved that game. It was so much. Number 10 was a game. Is Dungeons and Dragons: Warriors of the Eternal Sun. It was obviously an RPG game,
I never heard of
and it is very, very
that. I
good.
didn't know there was a Dungeons and Dragons game for the Sega.
Yep, it's very good. It's called Warriors of the Eternal Sun. Number 9 is Road Rash 2. It's kind of a racing game, except like you pick up like chains that were laying in the road and like whip other people with them and try and like knock them off their bikes and stuff as you were racing so that you could win. So it was like kind of like a brawler racing game on or on motorcycles. Number 8 is Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Of course.
I told you
yeah.
that one would. I played those games more on Sega than I did on Super Nintendo. That's
you know
why they
that
weren't on my
Sega
Super Nintendo list.
Was the first system to get vetted by the Supreme Court for video game violence?
For Mortal Kombat?
For Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
Because Super Nintendo didn't use the blood. Sega did.
Sega did, but you could turn it off.
Yeah.
They had the option to turn it off, but did anybody really ever turn it off?
No, heck no.
Number 7, and this is probably out of every single system we will go through, this is probably the only sports game that will be on my list. NHL 94 for Sega was one of the best sports games I've ever played.
Surprisingly, I agree with you.
NHL 94. Well, I don't even like hockey really, but that game was just so much fun and played it a lot. Number 6, Columns. Columns is a Tetris-like game where like you'd have like these 3 gems that were linked together would fall down and you could move them in different directions and they were either all the same color or different colors and you had to match the colors, and the more you played the faster it got, to the point where like my sister would come in and be like not even understand how I could see these things falling because they were falling so fast, and if you ever paused the game and walked away for any reason, when you came back you would instantly die because your eyes wouldn't be able to keep up. When you unpaused it, you were just done. But it was a puzzle game that I played way too much.
I never could get into mini puzzle games because most of them relied on color.
Yeah, sucks being you wouldn't be able to play this one either.
Probably not.
Number 5, Shining Force. One of the best, if not the best, turn-based game series out there. Like, they're so good.
One of the series that I always want to try that came out for Sega was Phantasy Star series.
They are very good too, but I didn't really play them that much. That's why none of them made the list. I know a lot of top lists. Yeah. A lot of top lists have Phantasy Star games in them because they are supposedly really good games.
Lunar series.
Oh, I've played those on PlayStation.
I remember watching my good friend from high school play that. We go to his house after school, and I was enthralled by it.
I think that was on Sega though.
Lunar Eternal Blue was.
Huh. Okay. Number 4, arguably the hardest game on Sega, is a game called Gunstar Heroes.
I have heard of that.
It's very fun, but it's very hard. Very hard. They remastered it and came out with it. I think it's on Switch. And the remastered version's a lot easier, but the original version was stupid hard, but it was a great game. Number 3, Earthworm Jim 2.
I love Earthworm Jim series.
Earthworm Jim 2. I know it was on Super Nintendo as well, but I only ever played it on Sega. I used to have this thing called the Sega Channel that you like plug this thing into your Sega, like into the game slot, and it hooked up to the cable, and you paid X amount per month, and it was basically like PlayStation Network, but for Sega back in the day. And they would put like 50 or 60 games on it a month, and they'd cycle the games that were on there each month. Like sometimes they'd stay on, sometimes they'd leave, kind of like a Netflix type of thing. That was like the OG PlayStation Network back then. It was, but yeah, we used to have, one of my friends used to have that, and I would be at his house all the time. Anyway, so number 3, Earthworm Jim 2. Number 2 was Shining Force 2.
Oh, okay.
Sequel to it was the same gameplay, just equally as fun, but had a better story to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just found out
I
there was a
liked it
second
better.
one.
Oh, the second one is so good.
It's in like the top
And
10 for like a fan voted Sega
mhm.
Genesis games. It was number 10, and I was going through it trying to match the games you're talking about.
Oh, any of my other ones on there?
Yeah, I think almost
Oh,
everyone you mentioned's on the top 100.
and then number one, classic, Sonic 2.
That's their number one too.
Sonic 2.
Two
Yeah,
is the number
Sonic
one on this list.
2. Like I said, like there's what, one, two, three, four sequels, four number twos on my list there out of 10 games, four number twos. Because the sequels were just better than the originals. Even though Shining Force, both of them were good, so they
That's
both
always
had
funny
to be on
because
those.
classically in video games, normally the sequels are better. But when you go to movies
Sometimes,
and TV, it's always worse.
right?
Because game studios tend to learn what works and what doesn't in their games.
Well,
Movie studios don't pay attention to what people think about their movies, apparently.
Well,
So-
that and the old school video games were always like, okay, this game was good. How can we make the next one better? That's what they
Mhm.
always did. It's like,
Yeah.
how can we make the next
listen
one
to
better?
listen to your fan base and see what they want. By the way, Gunstar Heroes on your list, right? Number 2 on the top
On the
100.
overall,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great game.
And then Sonic 3 was number 3.
I didn't like Sonic 3 as much.
But I think, yeah, 3 of your games on your list were in the top 100 or top 10 of the top 100.
Mm-hmm.
Good list. Good list. What was the other one?
Shining Force 2, Sonic 2, and Gun Force Hero.
Gunstar Hero.
Gunstar. Yeah.
All right. Let's see what old Rook's got.
All right. So I'll tell you now, my number one's not on the top 100 list.
Oh,
right.
it might be.
No, it's not. I've already looked at the top 100 list. I wanted to see if it was on there. All right. So Golden Axe is my number 10. Like I
That's a
said,
good one.
I remember jumping onto the little monsters and attacking everything.
That was on my list for a little while, and then it popped off because other ones.
Number 9, I liked Sonic and Knuckles.
It's fair. I like the little cartridge. That you could eat another cartridge with it, so you could then place
Mhm.
Knuckles in the other Sonic's game. That was kind of cool.
There's a game called Desert Strike.
Yep.
I like
All
that
the-
was my number 8 because I love that series because you get to fly around in a helicopter in Desert Strike and then other things in
Yep,
the
there's
following games.
Jungle Strike.
That
and
one does look
there's-
interesting.
There's a lot of good strike games.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Number 7 for me.
Never heard of them.
I remember playing Desert Strike and Jungle Strike and that's part of the reason why I liked flying is because it was just cool flying the helicopter around.
Yeah, didn't it feature it on the cover? It says it features an Apache, which my favorite aircraft of all time.
Number 7 is Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Yes, it was on my top 10 on SNES, but it's also on my top 10 in Sega Genesis.
Oh, that was my number 8. We were close. Close.
Number 6, NHL 94.
That was my number 7. See, we had those two kind of in the same order.
I liked it because to me, sports games in general for between football and hockey back in this era were, in my opinion, the better versions of the game just because they were more fun. At this time, NFL didn't crack down on stuff and they allowed the game studios to make the games fun.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is Madden 94. And I like this version of Madden because when the ambulances came on the field, they hit people. But
That's
no,
why you like it.
Part of the reason. But it was also fun to play all the callback greats and stuff. Number 4, Contra Hardcore. Contra games are always just fun to play.
I had a
yes.
very good feeling Contra
Always.
was going to be in your top 5.
Number 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist.
Yeah. I had a
Never heard
feeling
of that.
I had a feeling that one was going to be in your list too.
Why have I
Number
never heard
2.
of that one?
Number 2, Sonic 2.
There you go.
And then
Great game.
it is. And all Sonics have that iconic sound of when Sonic starts spinning up and then when he's about to die while underwater.
I don't know that sound though.
Okay. Let me see if you're a true Sonic fan. Okay. Do the numbers 4216 mean anything to you?
It does. I can't remember where we had to use those, but there's an area where you got to put that code in, and I can't remember what it is.
It's in the music, like the music settings or whatever. You put in 4126. It's either now I'm lost, and I don't remember. It's 4126 or 421. It's 4126. and then you collect 100 rings and jump, and you turn into Supersonic.
See, I couldn't remember how it was used, but I do remember that number.
Yes.
And number one because every time I think of Sega, it's the first game I always think about is Battletoads and punching things, and the fist comes really big and punches them.
Dude, see, I never played it on Sega. I only ever played it on Nintendo.
I played it a lot on Sega because when my brother and sister, my siblings and I have a different dad. They have the same dad. I have a different dad. So they would go to their dad's side of the family's place for vacation, for a weekend or a week or whatever, and I'd be forced to go. Well, I would end up going over to a neighbor's house. I became friends with a neighbor's house out there, and we would always play Battletoads. We'd stay up until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning playing Battletoads.
Was it as hard on Sega as it was on Nintendo?
Mm-hmm.
I remember part of the thing that made it as hard on Nintendo was that like there wasn't enough memory, so you'd like lag in certain parts and it would just kill you.
Oh yeah. No, it was more streamlined, but in the Sega Genesis version.
Oh, geez. I was thinking, I'm going to get the Sega Genesis Mini, too. So I can, playing all these games would be like playing it for the first time for me, because it is. They're $250.
Yeah.
Really?
In most
You used
places,
to be able
yeah.
to, I bet you could find it cheaper than that.
Walmart has used ones for $149. $100
Oh,
on eBay, but
there's a lot of good games that didn't even get mentioned. Like Vector Man was a fun game. All the Phantasy Star series. But yeah, there were a lot of really good Sega games. And if you're a D&D fan, I think you would probably like that Warriors of the Eternal Sun game. The graphics suck. I mean, they're old school Sega top-down graphics, but
16-bit.
the game itself was extremely D&D. We'll put it that way. Like, you even had to roll your stats and everything, like at the beginning.
So
I remember re-rolling my stats over and over and over to try and get good ones.
So what website were you looking at for top 100 games for Sega?
It was the Sox Makes People, not repeating it, but they did a giant poll for the top 150.
Sounds like a pretty credible list there. The Sox Mix People.
Well, it was because they went through a lot of hundreds of people and asked them their favorites. That's basically what it was, like a fan list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at backlogged. Oh, I forgot NBA Jam was on PlayStation. They have all, yeah.
Yeah, I did like NBA Jam, but not enough to put it in my top 10.
Yeah, it was fun. Let's see. I've seen this on a lot of top 100 lists. I've never played it. It's called Elysia Dragoon. I've never played that one, but it's been on a lot of the top 10 lists. Did you know Micro Machines had a racing game?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did.
I did not know that until just now. I forgot to mention the X-Men games. Those were fun on the consoles, both Super Nintendo and Sega.
They had a game called Dune 2 Battle for Arrakis, really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that was really good was Bart versus the Space Mutants.
Yeah, it was a good one.
That was a very good one. The Beavis and Butthead game, surprisingly, was actually really good and really hard.
Surprisingly, of all the consoles I played Street Fighter 2 the most on Sega, outside of arcades.
Fighter 2, yeah. I played a lot of Street Fighter in the arcades.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people, I think, probably played it. Of course, Golden Axe is in the top 50 on this one. Streets of Rage was a popular one on
I didn't know they had a Golden Axe too.
Yeah, Golden Axe 2. Yeah. Streets of Rage was a very good series too. It was very Double Dragon-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, they have all sorts of games. If y'all ever want to check out older games, classics, what we grew up on, check these out. Remember, if you're younger, you're going to be playing on platforms we grew up playing on, so the quality is not as good as modern gaming. But I do recommend, if you want true challenges on games that don't handhold you and actually try to get through, these older consoles are the way to go.
Yeah, doing this whole series makes me nostalgic to get back into these things.
I know, right?
Besides playing like a From Software game, these games, like, you want a challenge, play an old game, because they
very much,
like Rook said, they did not hold your hand back then. They did not care if you beat the game or not. Nowadays they make games to pander to everybody. It's like, oh well, we'll put in easy mode so that everyone can get through. No, before if you wanted to get through, you tried. You worked at it.
You either tried and worked at it, or you went out and spent the money and bought the game guide.
Right. And even with the guide, you didn't necessarily beat the game because sometimes it was just hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember even on Shining Force, which was one of my favorite games ever, there were several missions I had to do over and over again. And one mission on that game, you couldn't save mid-fight. You had to do it after the fights. And one fight could take like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Plenty of challenges, a lot of fun. And when people say that's where you learn hand-eye coordination, or you really and use your brain and increase your ability to think outside the list or think outside the box, that's where a lot of us learned all this stuff.
Yeah, for real. For real. Like my wife was saying something earlier today about not wanting my son to play a video game or something like that because it's just going to rot his brain. I was like, actually, they're very good for helping out with like hand-to-hand, like hand-eye coordination, problem solving. Like online video games are like nowadays a lot better for like being social, and like some kids, the only social they get is through online video games, which isn't necessarily the best thing in the world, but like some kids are really introverted and don't like to go out and be around people. This gets them around people still.
Yeah.
And yeah, some of the smartest people I know are people who grew up playing video games and problem solving, and especially the old consoles.
Oh, definitely. So do we want to hit the nerd news quickly?
Yeah, we got some time. We can hit that really quick.
All right, tell me about this Lego Game Boy you mentioned.
They announced like a teaser. I guess it's probably going to be something similar to like the Lego NES that they came out, where you can make a model of the NES with Legos.
Oh, okay.
And now there's a Game Boy one that's coming out in October 2025.
I don't know why I was thinking it was some kind of like actual Game Boy.
Yeah, I was hoping it was going to be something like playable, because that would have been awesome.
Can you imagine? Yeah, having like a circuit board you put in there, you build into it. That'd be so cool. Put an actual screen on it.
The NES one wasn't playable, was it? I don't think so.
No,
I think it was just a model.
It was just a model. Yeah.
That would require some work to make them actually playable, and I don't think they want to put that kind of technology in a box.
It's not like Lego's already super expensive right now. So
yeah, but I learned something about Lego. In 2008, they lost their patent on the game brick design, or the bricks design, and now that's why you're seeing all these other Lego companies pop up. Not Lego companies, but Lego-esque companies. Fun fact.
Fun fact indeed. CES happened again. The Consumer Electronics Show. I talked about it last January. We had an episode on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I wanted to go so bad. I'm going to try going next year.
That's where...
I
saw like 3 or 4 different things. I should have put them in the news or in the notes, because that's where I'm pretty sure that's where I saw the Lego Game Boy and a few other things.
I've watched a couple of videos. I haven't researched all of it yet, but it looked like it was a fantastic show this year. My only complaint was that AI was pretty much everywhere and mentioned in every single thing, in every keynote, every booth. Everything has AI.
That's the new...
Yeah, but there were a ton of goodies. Some of the concept cars they came out with were mind-blowing, including you can actually have your own little quadcopter that stores inside of a van, so you can transport it, and it comes out of the van, release the blades, and it flies around like a drone, but with people in it. That's actually going to market, and soon.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that.
And there's one that's like a motorcycle with quadcopters. That's going to market soon. But they had the first ever full windshield holographic display for cars, and it's made by Hyundai, and it looks incredible. And Hyundai is actually putting it in their 2025 models or 2026 models.
I have to look at that, because that sounds interesting.
How they did it is really, really cool. You need to look at that. It's hard to describe on the air like this, but yeah, there's plenty of videos on it. Check it out. LG is announcing releasing their first ever full transparent and full wireless TV. It has to be within 60 feet of the transmitter, and it goes completely wireless. You just hang it up on your wall like a picture, and when it's off, it is like a piece of glass.
Nice.
But as of right now, it's currently priced at $60,000.
Not so nice.
Yeah. Lenovo created a pair of sunglasses that beam your computer screen directly to the sunglasses. They're calling it modified AR.
Modified AR. Okay.
So you put the glasses on, and whatever console or like laptop or desktop you're on, you click a button, and it puts your screen into your glasses. So like a full huge display type thing. AR.
That will be really cool, but I can see a lot of issues walking down the street with that.
Well, I think you'd want to be in front of your desk, like a regular monitor when you're using it.
See, if they do something like that, that'll be awesome, because right now my issue with VR is that weight of the headsets. So if they do something that can do it that thin, then it'd be a lot easier.
It looks like just like aviator sunglasses.
Nice.
Yeah, the technology for that kind of stuff is getting smaller and smaller. There's AR glasses in development that have only small little like thicker ear holders that contain the technology and do modified AR. It's crazy.
I was talking to Wigit earlier this week about how it's crazy how close we're actually coming to Ready Player One. Because I was at the store, like just at a Target, and there was boot suits that you could buy, that you could like haptic suits that you could put on to play video games and actually feel the video games already.
I wanted to bring this up. I thank you for reminding me, because I wanted to bring this up because they're creating a world that's on the same vein as Ready Player One.
Oh my gosh, I'm in.
It's a full AR world, or not AR, but VR world, just like that, which is open source, so people could actually build and design in it.
I'm in.
Yeah,
nice.
Just get me my omnidirectional
and it goes into the game.
Just get me my omnidirectional treadmill and my haptic boot suit, and I'm good to go. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm game. I love VR. I want VR. I miss it. I miss the only VR console I ever owned was the PlayStation VR, and I had a blast with it.
I want to get the VR too, but there's not enough games in it to justify spending that much money for it. So I told my daughter the other day, she was talking about wanting to play Beat Saber. She's like, it's just so cold down in the basement. I was like, bring it up and hook it up to the PS5. We could play it up here. Like, what? Why do we need to go to the basement?
I want to get an Oculus.
My stepson has, I believe, no, he's got the Meta 3, I think it is, which is basically an Oculus.
The Meta 3 is, since they bought out Oculus, it is literally Oculus, but branded for Facebook.
Yeah.
And Meta.
Yeah, he's got the Meta 3, but it's...
Because my Oculus...
Cool.
I had an Oculus Quest 2, and the next version of that was the Meta.
I've heard that like the VR 2 has like sensors in it that will like blow air at you and stuff like that to like make it seem more realistic.
They're working on scent technology for those too, with refillable cartridges that create like 1,000 different scents.
See, my only thing with the VR as opposed to the Meta is that the PSVR, I hate how many cords there are and how attached you are. Whereas with the Meta, you can like freely move around all you want.
And that's part of the reason why the Meta weighs more, is because you have all the sensors in there, and it actually uses the cameras. So if the cameras get messed up, you run into an issue there. Personally, I want either the Valve's VR headset, or I forgot the name it. Yeah, the Vive, and I forgot the other one. It starts with an H. But those two are the top on my list, because I use it for flight simulators. I'm not going to be up moving around. I won't be at my computer playing games. So
yeah, it's just something about playing a game in VR is just like, it just hits different. Like
it does. I remember you can't really describe it. It's different.
The very first game I ever played in VR was Resident Evil. Ooh, which one was it? BioShock? It was the Resident Evil 7 BioShock or whatever the heck it is. And playing a Resident Evil in VR is like experiencing your very own horror movie in real life. It's insane.
I played Beat Saber for the first time and seeing those blocks coming physically at you.
Oh, Beat Saber's amazing. I love that game.
It's one of my favorites.
I play, as most of all of our longtime listeners know, I play Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous, when you are by your ship, it's like, it's not bad. I played the game in VR and walked out to my ship, and I had to look up because it actually, the size comparison from what you see on your screen is like, whatever. So when you actually see it in quote unquote person,
yeah,
the size of the ships are massive, and you don't realize that when you're just looking at it in a small 27, 34-inch screen.
Imagine if we were playing Icarus in
VR. I played Minecraft in VR.
You actually have to mine and like skin the things.
Dude,
Like
Minecraft in VR is wild.
I haven't
Because
played it in VR.
The creepers are all huge coming at you, and then the blocks, you get a sense of scale because your character is 2 blocks high, and you get those massive blocks in front of you. They look ginormous when you're in VR, and mining is crazy. It was so much fun. It was a whole different world.
I want to play Icarus with VR now. That would be so much fun.
There's a lot of games I would love to play
Bears.
with VR just to get the real comparison of how big everything is versus the player.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are way past time.
Oh darn!
What a pity.
What a shame. Sorry to all you who had to listen for an extra 10 minutes today, but
Oh, what a pity.
you're welcome.
Is there anything else you guys want to mention before we wrap it up?
No, I think we covered a lot tonight.
We did.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you want to reach this show for advertising or any other business, email us at podcastraw@gmail.com. The best way to get a hold of us is always going to be through our Discord, and to join the community and the chats that go through our Discord, which is many, many, many different types of chats. Discord.gg/raw podcasts. Our X is Podcast Raw. Our Facebook is Raw Podcasts. Our Instagram.
Our Instagram's Raw Podcast 1, and it hasn't really had a lot of activity on it yet.
Yeah.
Recently.
And you guys can follow us individually everywhere. I am at the Wigit, THEWIGIT.
You can follow me everywhere at some variation of either Tomcat213 or Rook213.
And you can follow me on all social media as the Archon606 or on gaming platforms as Quick QWICK_D_606.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and have a fantastic nerdy week.
Y'all stay nerdy.
Have a great week, guys.